It is the 4th of July in the United States as families and friends come together. Our live video feeds right here behind me. They're telling the story of an America struggling against wildfires. Also, we have our eye on the Caribbean. Our friends down there still reeling from a hurricane. I'm Reed Cowan. Thanks for being with me on the 4th. This is CBS News 24/7. Let's go. As we do every day, we have live video, and these feeds start us off today looking at our nation's capital, our nation celebrating the time in history that began the writing of the story of the greatest country on planet Earth. Well, get ready for a nation of parades and fireworks to mark the 4th of July occasion. So we can tell you overall the 4th of July traditions go on as planned. But out west, it means that our video feeds bring us some new rules to try and curb fires in what is widely known, especially in California's fire country. So here's your headline. No fireworks in many places to try to save homes and lives. In fact, look at these images. They're coming to us from fire-weary Northern California. Check it out. 28,000 people are out of their homes. The Thompson Fire right now raging at more than 3,500 acres. Look at that red-hot fire, and that's the result right there. This fire really bringing record heat in California. In fact, firefighters only have this one at less than 10% contained. That is not good news at this time of day. This fire burning just north of California's state capital of Sacramento. So that's where we find CBS News correspondent Elise Preston. She is with us in Oroville.
Reed, firefighters are just trying to get a handle on this wildfire. It's only 7% contained. Take a look at this house. It's one of 3 that have burned to the ground on a very small block. And at first glance, it looks like there's no more damage to be done. But firefighters have been combing this area looking for hot spots all day. Now, take a look at their efforts elsewhere. 3,500 acres have been scorched by the flames, and firefighters are battling triple-digit temperatures on the ground and in the air, trying to attack this fire. Now, the wind is picking up today, so there is great concern that flames that they have been able to stomp out could reignite. There's also great concern today because it is the 4th of July, and as you know, fireworks shows across California have been canceled, but firefighters are concerned that illegal fireworks could set off more flames and destruction as they're trying to stamp out these flames. Reed?
Elise, thank you for that. Not far from the Thompson Fire, there's another fire. This one, as they dump fire retardant and water on it, testing the mettle of firefighters, also near Sacramento. So we've got another one coming to us from our video monitors behind me today. This one is called the Moccasin Fire, and a lot like the Thompson Fire, this one sending people running. They are under evacuation orders. Right now, 51 acres burned, containment at 30%. Okay, so let's ride our video streams down to Southern California now. Almost the same story, dry and hot and on fire. You're looking at Simi Valley and the reason people there are on the run. In fact, evacuations might as well be the word of the day for so many all over the state of California. The video you're looking at here comes to us from the Sharp Fire. It's a monster. It sparked Wednesday afternoon, jumped almost 200 acres by this hour. It comes amid some excessive heat warnings all over California. Meteorologist Jessica Birch is here. Jess, the high heat just really dries out that underbrush and makes for fuel.
It really does. It's dry out there and it's hot out there in the state of California and all throughout the West Coast and the South. Over 79 million people today are battling extreme heat forecasted in our daytime highs all throughout the state. So let's dive into those numbers. Heading into this afternoon, there are some hot areas that we need to talk about. There's still red flag warnings in effect in areas like California, battling some really dangerous fire weather conditions on top of all of this heat. To add to that, we're daytime highs today in areas like Death Valley are expected to hit around 121 degrees. Dallas this afternoon, 101, and that's just our daytime high alone in that Texas region. We're continuing to watch this heat really build as we head into the coming days. So let's actually take a look at what that means for us. Our heat risk map right behind me, really isolating communities anywhere from Mississippi and Alabama stretching over into the Texas plains. We make our way over into California, same trend, the Central Valley dealing with daytime highs anywhere up to around 20 degrees above average as we head into this afternoon. So the National Weather Service has issued heat warnings and advisories that will remain remain in effect throughout our 4th of July holiday, stretching up into areas like Oregon and Washington too, and right back down into the south, anywhere from the tip of Miami, stretching over into Dallas and Houston. We continue to watch those heat domes really build as we head into the afternoon hours today. That's our first weather story. Let's change gears now. Heading over to Hurricane Beryl, we have been keeping a very close eye on this track as it has devastated many communities. Anywhere from Jamaica yesterday over into St. Vincent just 2 days ago. As we zoom in and we can see this track, it is still strong. It's sitting at a Category 3 right now. The center of it, the max wind sitting around 115 miles per hour as it swirls its way close to the Yucatan Peninsula. Now, as we take a look at conditions anywhere from Mexico all the way over into the Gulf, we're still under hurricane watches and warnings. This remains in effect as we head into the next coming days. Watching this track move its way close to the inland areas of the Yucatan Peninsula, it'll hit around a Category 2. Those are strong winds. It regains a little bit of strength potentially in our forecasted models right now as it re-enters the Gulf, and then we're expected to watch it move slowly up into Texas. So storm surge continues to be a big concern for us, especially near the Yucatan Peninsula, the Cayman Islands, where it's currently over right now. We'll keep a close eye on that as we head into the coming days, and we continue to track the tropics here in the Weather Center as it's going to expected to be a very active season ahead of us. We'll keep you updated on that here, but for now, over to you, Reed.
All right, Jess, thanks. When it is new, it is news here at CBS News 24/7, and we've got the newest update from Jamaica, where Hurricane Beryl rips through that country. CBS News correspondent Tom Hansen continues what has been days of live coverage. He's at Montego Bay. And Tom, I'm at least heartened to see it looks more placid, a little more tranquil behind you than it has in previous hours.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Reed. But Beryl was relentless and ferocious as it bared down on Jamaica last night and lasted late into the night. Now, when the sun came up, Beryl was gone. We were able to survey some of the damage. What we did see were relatively minor forms of damage. So uprooted trees ripped off of the ground and tossed onto the sides of the roads. We also saw behind me in this marina way over there, we saw about 3 to 4 sunken ships. But overall, the damage far less severe than what we had feared or even anticipated. Now, I want to take a look at the water here. You can see that it is calm and tranquil, as you mentioned, but it is far from that classic electric blue that is so synonymous with the Caribbean. Instead, it is murky. It's a little green from all the sediment that was kicked up from that powerful storm surge that crashed along these rocks here. One of the main concerns, though, and this is new information just coming into us moments ago from the U.S. Embassy, is what you cannot see, which is power. More than half, 60% of this island is without electricity right now. And I can tell you, Reed, it is hot here. It is in the upper 80s today, expected to reach into the 90s here. So that is a huge point of concern. The other thing, as we were documenting those ships that were sunk at the marina, you can smell that the water is definitely contaminated in certain parts with sewage. So drinking water also up in the air, and it's very much up in the air when it will all be restored, the electricity and clean water for the people here, Reed.
Wow. Well, part of rebounding after a hurricane is that really crucial infrastructure. I think you raise a very good point. Our hope that they can get the lights back on so the flow of information can go neighborhood to neighborhood, and also so they can have that clean drinking water. Tom Hansen, marathon days of coverage there in Montego Bay. We thank you so much. Okay, moving ahead, we have more than one camera trained on Jamaica. Take a look at these flooded streets there, up to the tire in some places. Maybe also this video will help you to sort of understand Jamaica and the impacts of the hurricane. We want to show you this video right now, kind of a before and after, a landmark bridge in Kingston. So if you know this bridge, you know what we're looking at, and you know that this is normal. The waters were high at the beginning of the hurricane, but look at that. That's the contrast. The bridge now swallowed by the swollen Rio Cobre River. That before and after contrast really shows you the power that Tom is talking about. Hurricane Beryl buried that bridge. Our CBS partners in Grenada bringing us a headline affecting people after that hurricane hit. We can tell you, just like in Jamaica, there in Grenada, power is out. Roads, you can see it right there, littered with debris. But people are finally starting to get out in their neighborhoods and see what this hurricane did. We want to also show you more of the impact of the hurricane. Fishermen in Barbados. Look at these boats. Every one of these boats is important. They feed a family. They help support the local economy, help people make a living. And this is really a popular marina you're looking at in Barbados. This is where fishermen gather. This is where they bring fish in. They sell them there. But we're told that every one of the boats you see there in that marina either sunk or some level of damage. Some, we are told, total loss. So that's what's being caught just at the tail end of a hurricane. And that's what it looks like, just being the tail end of it. Barbados hit by that Category 4 tail. And the result really is a stinging and devastating wallop. Our thoughts with them. Let's ride the video feeds now over to Mexico. Our cameras caught this fishing village. Pretty quiet there. In fact, the Navy jumped in to help people get out of this fishing community evacuated ahead of the hurricane. This is at the Mexican state of Quintana Roo, and if you know that, you're likely one of the thousands of tourists who visit Cancun every year. Look how quiet the hotels look, boarded up there. This is why. Because of Beryl, our video caught these tourists racing to get out before it hits. Mexico, right now at this hour, is on high alert on the 4th of July holiday. That storm now moving closer, expected to hit tomorrow. Happening right now, let's get back to Washington, D.C. as our nation celebrates the 248th anniversary of the adoption of the Declaration of Independence. Little history lesson for you on the 4th. And we are learning that President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden are at this very hour laying out the fixings for military families who plan to visit the White House shortly. We mentioned the president, and as we do so, we know that you are aware of the headlines that just don't seem to go away in recent days. People in his own party calling for President Joe Biden to bow out of the race. We're still remembering the struggles of that debate, and so are the people who are closest to him. CBS News congressional correspondent Scott McFarland joins us now outside the White House on the 4th of July. You know, Scott, yesterday on the stream, it was reported that there was that big meeting of governors at the White House. Did that give any juice to the Biden campaign? Did that reignite anything?
That meeting was at the governor's request, orchestrated by one of the president's top surrogates, Minnesota Democrat Tim Walz. Governor Walz and two of the other top surrogates of the president came outside of the White House to champion his reelection campaign, saying he's still in it and they're still with him. That would also include Maryland's governor and New York's governor. But most of the governors in the room didn't come out to take questions. Some posted statements, some have been quiet ever since. And really, this meeting with governors has left open the question of how deep is the support for the president's reelection inside the party. We know where the top surrogates are, but where are the rank and file Democrats? Because we now have at least two U.S. House Democrats who said the president should withdraw. An incredibly provocative thing to happen in any presidential election. There have now been two. I can give you about a half dozen others who've given statements that are equivocating, mushy, or just downright destructive, potentially, for the Biden campaign, saying they have grave concerns or that Trump seems certain to win. It's that erosion of support from elected officials in his own party that can be potentially the most detrimental to the president staying in the race or winning the race.
Well, Scott, I want to get your sense of something. I read in the New York Times today a report that says essentially the President Joe Biden is telling people close to him that he knows he has only days to salvage his campaign. Are you getting that sense when you talk to any of Biden's surrogates?
Oh, there's almost a synchronized message from Democrats that there is an urgency to this no matter which path is taken, that time is sensitive and time is not the friend of the president here. He's spending most of this day, most of this 4th of July, outside of public view, which is consistent with this entire week. He spent most of this week outside of public view. He has two events tonight with military families and with a fireworks display on the south lawn of the White House. He has a rally tomorrow in Madison, Wisconsin. I'll be there. Our CBS News team will be in the room. He has another rally Sunday in Pennsylvania. He also has that interview, a network interview tomorrow that'll air in prime time tomorrow night. It's not going to air live, but it could be an early test of what happens next for President Biden. There is an unequivocal, consistent sense of urgency to all of this.
Scott McFarland live from Washington, D.C., right there on the White House lawn, always smooth as silk during bumpy times. We appreciate you. We'll be watching for your reports on the campaign trail tomorrow and next week. Coast to coast and streaming worldwide, you're watching CBS News 24/7. We hope you're having a meaningful 4th of July. I'm back in just a few minutes. All right, our video monitors have us watching closely some breaking news, reports of a mass shooting in Illinois. In fact, this video is how our partners at CBS News Chicago broke the news.
We want to get right to this breaking news. A mass shooting in the Grand Crossing neighborhood. Asal Razai is live at 71st and Woodlawn Avenue, where police are still investigating. Asal?
Yeah, Megan, I'll show you the scene we have right now behind us, as it is an active investigation at this hour. Really a tragic start to the 4th of July holiday here. We've been gathering information from family members who are understandably distraught about what's unfolded here this morning. Take a look at this video we have from earlier. You can see the aftermath of the shooting here. This happened around 6:15 this morning. Chicago police say officers found 5 people shot and immediately began life-saving measures. A source close to the investigation tells me several men wearing hoods approached the area and began shooting at a home here near 71st and Woodlawn. Police confirming 3 boys, a 5-year-old, 7-year-old, and 8-year-old, were all hit by gunfire and taken to Comer Children's Hospital. A source tells me that 5-year-old suffered a graze wound to the face. The 7- and 8-year-old at last check were in surgery. Police say a 42-year-old woman was pronounced dead at the scene. A 24-year-old woman, we're told by family, pronounced at the hospital shortly after the shooting.
You can wake up 5 in the morning and decide to go run to somebody's house and do something like this and don't think that ain't going to affect nobody or you. I don't even think.
Chicago, let's just come together. Let's come together. Let's stop it all. We know it's senseless. We hear it every day. But if we don't work together, it won't stop.
Emotions running high here this morning. Police say the suspects were seen getting away here from the scene. They say the investigation is ongoing this morning, and so far, no arrests have been made. I'm live in Grand Crossing. Asal Razai, CBS 2 News.
Horrible. All right, so that's how the news broke in Chicago. Once again, mass shooting, 2 women killed, 3 children injured, varying degree of injuries. But you see already right there on the steps of the home where the bullets flew, a community coming together and calling for an end to the violence. You heard that man say, let's come together. More from Chicago as more information comes from this mass shooting. You're watching CBS News 24/7. I'm back in just a few minutes. All right, let's ride our video streams across the pond, headed overseas, and look at all these headlines from Britain's tabloid newspapers, every one of them trying to convince people to vote one way or another in their elections happening right now. And joining us now from London is CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer. All right, so Britons have what choices on the ballot?
Well, they're voting for the whole of the parliament, Reid, 650 seats in the parliament. And in the British system, the head of the party that gets the most seats today will be the prime minister tomorrow. There historically have been 2 main parties who've run this country for decades, Labour on the centre-left, Conservatives on the centre-right. That hasn't changed. But it does look as if there's about to be a major swing away from the Conservatives, who've been in power for the past 14 years, to Labour. To give you an idea, at the last election in 2019, the Conservatives won a generous majority, well over half the seats in the House of Commons, and Labour got a thrashing, the worst result in 85 years. Well, the tables are about to turn dramatically, unless every pollster in the land is wrong. Labour is heading for a stupendous victory. And we should get an early indicator of the scale of the win from exit polls around 5 p.m. Eastern. That is sort of mid-afternoon for you guys out there on the West Coast.
All right, you have a busy day ahead. So why such a dramatic rejection of Conservatives there?
In a nutshell, there's been a lot of political and economic turmoil. First of all, the Tories, the Conservatives, have had 5 prime ministers in 8 years. David Cameron, he stepped down in 2016 after Brexit, which he didn't agree with, but went ahead. Then there was Theresa May. She was another casualty of Brexit. She tried to do a deal with Europe and failed, left office. Then Boris Johnson, who I'm sure you'll remember, he was eventually brought down over what's known as Partygate, members of his government holding parties during COVID lockdowns in official buildings. Then there was Liz Truss, who sent the financial markets of Europe and the UK into meltdown with her very radical policies. She lasted all of 49 days. And then lastly, Rishi Sunak, the current prime minister, who has completely failed to repair all the damage. And as for the economy, Brexit has really left everyone poorer. People are feeling that. And a huge issue is the NHS, the beloved National Health Service, the free health service. It suffered underinvestment, too few doctors and nurses, and people are just fed up.
Fed up, and they're going to voice their choice on the ballot. All right, matters of consequence over there across the pond, not to lighten any of it, but you've got to think that the writers at Netflix are taking a lot of notes because you all keep serving up the headlines. We're grateful that you are bringing them to us via the stream today. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Hey, coast to coast and streaming worldwide, you got friends all over the world, right? You're watching CBS News 24/7. I'll be back in just a few minutes. CBS News 24/7, streaming coast to coast and worldwide. And I've got your 4th of July celebrations covered, especially while so many of you are taking cover to beat the heat that's sizzling all over the country. Brandon Goldner is live in Ocean City, New Jersey. Brandon, we've heard that old phrase, the coast is clear, but the question for you is the coast cool today?
Well, Reed, it's an interesting combination. So it is hot out here. The sun is blazing, but it's also windy as well. So it's kind of a weird combination. So I'm sweating a little bit, if you can tell, but also there's that cool breeze as well from the ocean.
Looks like a lot of fun out there. It's the quintessential 4th of July scene. How are people enjoying their day? How are they keeping cool out there? We see that not everybody is wearing pants right there behind you. I mean, just to state the obvious.
Exactly. Let me step aside so you can see we have tens of thousands of people who are out here in Ocean City enjoying the beach, enjoying some of the arcade games, as well as shopping out here. We spoke to a lot of boardwalk workers who talked about how they have just gotten so many crowds out here, how it's such an important day for them, especially when it comes to business. But of course, there's the fireworks later in the evening, and there's also people that are also going to be out in the ocean as well. We've been talking to Ocean City Beach Patrol. They have been telling us that they've been keeping a close eye on the water because of the wind that I mentioned. There are rip currents out there, so they're keeping a close eye, especially they had to rescue 9 people over the weekend from the previous weekend, and it was actually caught on video as well. So that is something that they are keeping a close eye on. They say they are fully stacked with firepower from Beach Patrol lifeguards.
Hey, that's what we do in the United States. We prepare, we plan, and we are at the ready. And I have a very important breaking news question for you today on the 4th. Only on the 4th could we do something this light. The marquee behind you says Squishmallows. Please explain for our national audience what a Squishmallow is.
I'm going to be 100% honest with you. It's a pop quiz. I am not 100% sure the answer, so I probably failed that pop quiz there.
You fail, and for failing, you just have to go buy one and try one. Happy 4th of July. We hope it's safe out there.
Absolutely.
We hope that people and all the preparations pay off. Try to stay cool out there. Thank you so much. Let's go to our nation's capital now. Beaming to you from our monitors as people there celebrate the 248th anniversary of the adoption of the Declaration of Independence. By the way, not far from this scene you're looking at, President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden there hosting military families at the White House. And we have to go here. All of this is happening while the president digs in his heels. He's rejecting calls for him to bow out of the race after much publicized struggles with that debate with former President Donald Trump. The president met with Democratic governors at the White House to try and shore up support within his own party. Among those governors, Governor Gavin Newsom of California, who left raging wildfires in his state to attend that meeting to talk about the fires hitting the Biden campaign. We also understand Newsom will be with President Joe Biden campaigning throughout Philadelphia in the coming hours. So speaking of California, leaders in many communities saying that fireworks pose too great a risk in fire country, and they have canceled show after show, and you're looking at why. This is a tragedy playing out in real time in California. Somebody's home there, somebody's car, somebody's livelihood going up in flames. You're looking at why 28,000 people are out of their homes right now. This fire is a monster. It's called the Thompson Fire. Already nearly 4,000 neighborhoods burned, 4,000 acres burned, and counting. This one's only 70% contained, despite the best efforts of firefighters. It's burning just north of the state capital of Sacramento. If you get out your map of the United States, you're going to see it. It's burned over 3,500 acres, and we just checked. That containment is not going anywhere, despite them dropping that fire retardant. It's all happening in Butte County, which is north of Sacramento. And so we're watching this one closely. We know that is a real-life breaking news story playing out moment by moment. So bottom line, risks are high. Fires are raging, and California just can't even catch a break. They can't afford one more fire. So a lot of cities, as we mentioned, are canceling fireworks or canceling parades this 4th of July. And the reason they're telling people on many morning broadcasts all throughout the state of California is it's just too dry. It's too hot and too risky. In fact, in some areas, people are moving close to the water to try to escape. Triple-digit heat spiking, especially in the inland parts of California.
Had to wait till now to come out. It was too hot earlier. Just stayed inside, honestly. Yeah. Just AC. But the ACs can't even keep up today.
Yeah, not everybody, though, has air conditioning. One death reported in San Jose, California, due to the heat. Our video monitors also bringing us ways that you are helping one another. Communities all over California, look at that, waving from pools. They're opening pools and cooling centers to try to encourage people to come in and stay safe and healthy and at the same time meet their neighbor. In fact, it is so hot in parts of Northern California, up in the Bay Area where normally it's cool, that air conditioners are now kicking off when the power goes out. Let's talk about San Ramon, California. It is over near San Francisco. They're hammered at this hour by heat, and some are losing electricity. In fact, some of the homes you see here in this video have been without light for 18 hours. So the power provider is PG&E, and they say equipment failed in that area because the temperatures were just too high. In fact, those temperatures flared, and people really had to be stuck without the power coming back on for hours and hours.
This is their responsibility. They made the decision to turn the power off. That then blew up an underground substation with equipment that doesn't work well in heat. Who architected that?
So we want to button that up with meteorologist Jessica Burtz joining me now. He mentions turning the power off. PG&E is also turning the power off to try to avoid peak usage and avoid sparking wildfires. So He's frustrated there because they turned it off and then they turned it back on and then blew that.
I mean, I'm sure many Californians are frustrated with things like that right now. They're not only battling with that extreme heat that's just billowing over the state of California and all the West Coast, as well as our friends down in the South, but you know what they're also dealing with? Red flag warnings. Dry conditions mixed with that low relative humidity all throughout the afternoon hours and the overnight hours too. Goodness gracious, it is fire weather conditions off in areas like California and Northern California, where Butte County, we've been keeping a close eye on them. Keep in mind, it was only a few years ago they were battling the camp and car fire up there, some of the deadliest fires we've seen ever in U.S. history. As we head into our 4th of July forecast, let's talk about what's going on right now. Here's our daytime highs all throughout the states. We're topping off at 101 degrees today in Dallas, where we're also battling extreme heat today. Houston at 97 degrees. Many Americans, over 97 million Americans actually, are dealing with this extreme heat. And taking a look right behind me as we head into the next couple of days, we're going to continue to keep this heat really sticking around for us. Areas like Texas, Louisiana, all the way over into Mississippi and Alabama, the heat risk map is highlighted in that very high category, even extreme categories, as well as the Central Valley over into California. Well, what does that mean for us? The National Weather Service has issued heat warnings and advisories, but we need to take it slow out there on days like today. Even though we have 4th of July fireworks that we want to go see and all those outdoor activities, you're going to want to take it slow, continue to hydrate, take good care of your loved ones as well. Anywhere from the tip of Miami stretching all the way up into Louisiana, those heat advisories remain in effect throughout the afternoon hours today, as those two major heat domes are still here. Now, I want to show you something else that's going on. We're changing gears a little bit from heat all the way over into the hurricanes. Let's keep this up right behind me. Hurricane Beryl is the big concern for us as we head into the coming days, as it slowly creeps its way now closer to the Yucatan Peninsula, where hurricane warnings and watches remain in effect. It's currently sitting just over the Cayman Islands. It swept throughout Jamaica yesterday, bringing storm surges widespread throughout the island, and continues to bring in strong winds to communities all throughout the islands near the Caymans, as well as the Yucatan Peninsula just within the next 24 hours. Watch this track as it moves its way slowly back into the Gulf of Mexico. It gains a little bit of strength as it's making its way closer to the state of Texas. We'll have more on this coming up in a bit and how this could impact those local communities. For now, Over to you, Reed.
You say community, and that's what we are all about. When it's new, it is news right where you live here at CBS News 24/7. And we've got the newest update right now from Jamaica, where Hurricane Beryl rips through that country. CBS News correspondent Tom Hansen continues days of coverage from an area that is a little more placid in Montego Bay.
Hey again, Reed. Well, as we mentioned, Beryl crashed into the shoreline here less than 24 hours ago, and we are now seeing the impact now that the sun is up and we are able to survey the damage. What we've seen so far, trees ripped from their roots, turned over, roads blocked from both downed power lines and those trees, although there are recovery efforts on the way. People have started to clear out the foliage, the branches that are blocking cars from going to where they need to. That is happening. It's going to be an ongoing process, though. No real significant structural damage that we have come across other than those downed power lines and trees. But one of the major concerns is what you cannot see, which is power. We just learned that 60% of the island is still without power, and obviously this is a critical time. These are the summer months in the Caribbean. It is hot. People need some relief from that. Now, one other thing that we are just learning about the airports here as people are trying to get out, go along their way. A lot of vacationers were caught up in the mess of this storm. The airport here is set to reopen at 6 p.m. tonight, so a lot of people are likely going to head to the airport to get out, get on their way. But that is not the case in Kingston, which was hit a lot harder than Montego Bay. Kingston, their closure stretches into the early hours of the morning, 5 a.m. tomorrow morning as of now. Now, the U.S. Embassy is urging people to still take this very seriously. This is an ongoing disaster situation, a disaster declaration that will stretch on for a week, if not longer. Certainly something that we are going to be focusing on as we look ahead to those recovery efforts. Reed?
All right, Tom Hansen, thank you so much. And just word to anybody who is in that part of the world right now, check updates from the U.S. Embassy. So this is video out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines there. And you're starting to see the damage as people come out from being hunkered down right there on Union Island. It's more of a mess there than what we were able to see from Tom's shot in Jamaica. Look at that. The remnants people are literally having to pick through. Government officials there say Beryl destroyed more than 90% of that island's buildings, and we know each one of these buildings was somebody's home, somebody's business, so that is going to take a community to recover from. Certainly many more stories to be had out of that part of the world in the days and weeks ahead. Let's go to Mexico, and we are seeing a lot of people who are taking no chances. So this video coming to our feed shows the response. This is in the Mexican state of Quintana Roo, where fishermen are evacuating. That's the state, and you see this hotel here boarded up, where thousands of tourists visit Cancun every year. This is the time of year when tourism is typically very high, but now look at that, boarded up windows at one resort, people wanting to get out. We've also got this video showing ramifications of the storm in Texas. Same story. It is get ready to go time, but look at this. As you see in real time, people working together, hand in hand on July 4th. Here in Texas, the headline, it's all about communities coming together to get sandbags. They anticipate some pretty high water, so people helping people, a chain of helpers there, arms moving sandbags into trucks, one at a time, hoping to stave off the potential damage that could come to Texas because of Hurricane Beryl. President Joe Biden will have a critical call today with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Stakes are high. There's a hostage release proposal, and Hamas responded to it. And now Joe Biden waits for Netanyahu's cabinet to respond. Our satellite's taking us now to Holly Williams. She's live in Tel Aviv. Holly, it's especially tense where you are right now. Tell us about that call with Benjamin Netanyahu.
Hey there, Reed. Well, Hamas has responded to an earlier ceasefire proposal that was made by Israel and endorsed by the US back in May. We don't have any confirmed detail about what exactly Hamas is suggesting, but that phone call between Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Biden has actually already taken place today. And we understand that Netanyahu told the president that he will send negotiators to continue negotiations. However, Netanyahu's office said that the Prime Minister also reiterated Israel's commitment to only ending the war after all of its goals have been achieved. And as you remember, one of Israel's stated goals going into this war was the destruction of Hamas. And I think that really speaks to the complexity of Israel's position here, which is on the one hand, going ahead with more negotiations via interlocutors with Hamas, but on the other hand, vowing its destruction. Now, we've been here many times before in the last few months, and we don't know whether there's reason for more optimism about a ceasefire deal this time. But let me remind you of the stakes. More than 100 hostages thought to still be held in the Gaza Strip, and more than 38,000 people now killed in Gaza, according to the Hamas-run health ministry.
Okay, so we also understand it's been a very tense time. Hezbollah, we're hearing word of rockets there. Tell us what is going on with that situation, because we know a lot of people on the ground are seeing those, hearing about those. That only raises the tension in that region.
Yeah, Reid, let me remind you of the background here. There's been an uptick in deadly exchanges of fire between Israel and the Hezbollah militant group in southern Lebanon ever since the October 7th attacks. Hezbollah, like Hamas, is backed by Iran. Hezbollah is acting out of solidarity with Hamas. Yesterday, Israel confirmed that it had killed a senior Hezbollah commander in southern Lebanon, and Hezbollah responded with a barrage of what it said was more than 200 rockets and drones. Now, as you'll remember, the two sides fought a deadly border war back in 2006, and the U.S. is trying to prevent that from happening again. But Hezbollah says that it will not stop until there is a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. And Israel's defense minister said yesterday that while Israel would prefer a diplomatic solution, quote, if reality forces us, we will know how to fight. So all of that is fueling fears of another war, a second war, here in this very fragile region.
Fragile indeed. Holly Williams live in Tel Aviv for us. Thank you so much for your report. Coast to coast, and you just saw it streaming worldwide. You're watching CBS News 24/7. We're back in just a few minutes. Just feels good, right? Our heartbeat and mission at CBS is to tell you stories in your communities. And not only do we have a heart for America, we've got our eye on America, showcasing how you, right where you live, find creative ways to work together to find solutions. We know this. Challenges are opportunities. This we see over and over. And California has a lot of challenges today as hot temperatures and dry brush equal fires raging in that state. The side effect on this 4th of July, many cities canceling fireworks of any kind. But here's some of the messaging leaders are getting out to warn people. Information is power, right? So watch this. Just one firework and dry brush, and you're going to see the result. This is in Northern California in the Bay Area. Firefighters in Marin County showing how fast fireworks can ignite dry brush, and there it goes. These flames spreading within minutes, all started with one simple roadside stand firework. So that's the reality, that's the risk, and that's the challenge that asks for solutions. So let's go to Napa, California in wine country, where people are patriotic, and they're finding ways around the risk, not with fireworks to celebrate on the 4th, but instead using drones. Ryan Yamamoto introduces you to an innovator with an eye on the safety of America. Watch.
Before something must come down, John Eric Henry will tell you it first has to go up.
This is where the magic happens.
And that's the motto he lives by inside his Oakland office.
This office used to go by the holodeck, but now it's called Area 211 in honor of Area 51.
But rather than UFOs,
and then there's Oakland Roots.
He builds 3D animations.
Each drone is a pixel or sphere.
Mapping and programming each precise movement.
So the blue lines represent the drones where they're coming from and where they go to.
Creating a show in the nighttime sky, hoping to wow an audience watching below.
You hope people laugh in the right spots. You hope people cry in the right spots. You hope people applaud in the right spots. And so far I've been lucky that they have, and they've sort of connected and got that.
After 6 years in business, John Eric Henry is now trying to grow his local drone studio.
There's the ball.
At a time. when cities and counties are shifting from fireworks shows.
I recognize that drone light shows are really the thing of the future, especially in areas where there's high fire danger.
It is one of the reasons the city of Napa, surrounded by dry brush, pivoting to a drone light show for their 4th of July celebration.
It's a consideration when you think about the potential for red flag warnings, elevated temperatures, drier conditions in general, and, you know, a lot of fuel from a somewhat wet winter that always affects, you know, fuels for fire.
Napa's show includes 400 drones from a big production house from out of state. Where from the office to his warehouse.
So this is called Skylab.
John Eric Henry's Pinnacle Productions is looking to compete with the bigger studios.
How many drones do you have right now?
I have 200 plus drones.
And on this day, we caught up with him testing his 3D printed drones, preparing them for an upcoming show.
This is where I'm the captain. We call a 3L test for lift. The second one is for loiter or hover, and the last one is land. If those drones pass the sort of tolerance or stress test, then we can rest assured until we fly the whole show in rehearsal that the show's actually going to work out in the way we designed it.
Designing shows for the future as he tries to literally grow his business. This is video from a recent trip he took overseas where he will soon go from 200 to 1,000 drones by the end of the year.
Yes, I recently came back from China. It was a 7-day visit. I was visiting a drone manufacturer.
Looking up to build bigger and more impressive shows and help an audience to literally see the light.
Spirit of America, innovation. Again, leaders in many communities in California and elsewhere in the country. We're hearing this same thing in Utah, saying fireworks just pose too great a risk in fire country, and they have canceled show after show. And this is just a reminder of why. Northern California, and you're looking at why 28,000 people are out of their homes right now. This monster fire is the Thompson Fire. 4,000 acres burn and counting. It's only 7% contained. It's burning just north of the state capital of Sacramento. And the acreage just continues to be eaten up. That containment is not happening as fast as firefighters would like. This is also, maybe if you know this area on the map, Butte County, just north of Sacramento. I just got this handed to me by my producer, and we want to get it on the record right now. No video coming to us yet off of the monitors, but as soon as we get it, we'll get it to you. But right now, we know a lot of people go up to Yellowstone National Park for the 4th of July to recreate this weekend. We have to tell you, there's been a shooting inside Yellowstone National Park. One suspect is dead. Police say he made some sort of threat, waved his firearm in the air in a threatening way. It happened in the early hours of the morning before sunset up there in the park. We're also getting word that rangers say an exchange of gunfire began when they actually made contact with this person. He was reported, he raised some suspicions, so they made contact. A park ranger, we understand, was hurt in the shootout that ensued. We understand the park is open now, but parts of the park remain closed for investigation, just that small area where this happened. We don't have the man's identity at this time, but officials say no active threat to the public enjoying Yellowstone National Park right now. Okay, let's end on a positive note. The United States of America has a birthday, and we want to show you this beautiful video coming to us from our monitors in Northern California, Treasure Island, and there's Old Glory flying. May it fly proud and strong for all of us. I'm back tomorrow.